During COVID time and just after COVID time, we heard a lot about the disruption in the semiconductor supplies, the electronic component supplies, and we also heard the impact with the bookings that you had for your vehicles, the launch dates, etc., on account of these disruptions. How did you navigate through these problems then? Kindly share your thoughts.
First thing on the short term was actually doing market buy. And the market buy actually came at a huge cost. A $1 chip would cost $150, to the extent of $300. But we were ready to throw the money because we had to come out up and running on the automotive front. We could not be sacrificing on the numbers because first comes the numbers, then the others do follow. And that's why we were throwing the money at a very high space to get the semiconductors in place, and then parallelly taking steps in the form of flexibility in design, getting alternate chips in place. And for that, we were working very closely with our suppliers to give us alternate designs. We went on to engage with the semiconductor manufacturers and trying to allocate the capacity for us. We started giving long-term demand to the suppliers so that they could get allocation. So that was the game about working closely with the suppliers and getting it. And look at it, how we went up in our production from 30,000 levels to what we are now at 80,000 per month. So we've been steadily growing, increasing the capacity, and today we are number 3 in the SUV space in this industry.
Costing and supply chain involves multiple facets. It involves ensuring the suppliers are delivering to the engineering specification, and also you communicating to the suppliers in time on any design changes that may occur, collaborating very closely with them all through, and ensuring the timely supplies, timely deliveries from them, especially for the new products, because your launch dates would be aligned with that basically. So multiple things, even going forward once the new product is launched, to ensure the consistent supply, quality supply from the suppliers. So multitude of challenges, okay, multitude of requirements associated with this. How do you envisage the role of technology in addressing these challenges?
At Mahindra, with the change of leadership, we brought in a lot of strategic initiatives at our workspace. And all those strategic initiatives were actually to the purpose of increasing the speed to the market. So purpose was to increase the speed to the market. We took a lot of strategic initiatives at the engineering front, from the engineering till the market space, because that's how we could gain space in terms of market share. So for that, the initiatives were in various stages. Well, first was at the engineering front itself. The change was, can we do changes in a live design platform? Idea was that when we're moving from the designing space to the styling space, we should be working on one design so that we do not have an issue of redundancy in the design. And for that, we took up the 3DEXPERIENCE platform in which we transformed from the KPI that we were already working on, so that we were always working on the current design at any point in time. Idea was to also collaborate with the suppliers at the same time, and hence this 3DEXPERIENCE platform gave us a very good platform on which we could share the design, collaborate with all the stakeholders between the designers, the styling guys, and the suppliers, so that we were always working on a live design. That was the first strategic initiative we took. The second was how to collaborate with our suppliers on the development front. Here we embarked on another journey, which I'll talk about later. The third space was on the manufacturing front, where we could use a virtual twin so that we were always first time right. So going on to the development front, we embarked on a digitization journey from SOR to APQP, which means from the digital design stage itself, we wanted a digital designing to happen, a digital communication to the suppliers on the functional parameters of any product that we wanted. If the start is digitized, then we can continue to the digitization journey till the end. That was the idea. And this particular platform, we've been able to customize quite a lot. We are in the journey of going live in 1 or 2 months now. One phase has already been gone live. The remaining phases are going to happen in the month of October and November. But the idea is to create a digital layer first. And in creating the digital layer, we've gone from the design stage to happen in terms of digital platform. The other one is the quotations from the suppliers in digital, going to the code synthesis, going to the vendor onboarding, and then the final development monitoring on a digital platform. That's the idea which we undertook on the 3D Experience platform, to collaborate with the suppliers, having a strong compliance, having a strong revision control, having a very strong digital continuity from SOR to APKP. So that was the idea which we undertook with the suppliers on this particular platform. That addresses the second part of the question. And the third was, in terms of having on the manufacturing front, how do we go first time right? How do we do very fast? Because we are in an expansion mode at Mahindra. We wanted to go from 6K to 10K on our flagship models. We wanted to launch our electric platforms as soon as possible. At the manufacturing front, we have probably the least amount of time to industrialize. So when we are doing this, it's important to be first time right. And to do first time right, technology enablers coming from Dassault helps us a lot, because a virtual twin helps us to understand what the issues are going to come when we are actually going to do it physically. So we are able to cut short the time and able to deliver very fast with that.
Thank you, sir. Primarily digitizing the entire process, onboarding the suppliers also, so that you stay connected and the design changes are communicated instantly to them, and getting everybody to work together in alignment is the key for this flexibility and sustainability. Mr. Pankaj, with the shift in the model from make to print to eventually engineering to order, and now we also hear a lot about co-development with defense PSUs and DRDO labs. How do you see the technology has a role to play here? And what are the challenges and the opportunities there again?
And that's where Indian industry has to mature. DRDO is doing exemplary work in producing research on some key technologies, and how Indian industry and DRDO can come together. DPSUs, government has invested so much money in DPSUs, and that the entire defense market size is very large, the pie is very big. So the question is, if we have to scale up, how could we collaborate with each other to not only attend to Indian requirement as well as to the world requirement? That becomes a key. So the government is playing facilitating part, as I mentioned. The best part is technology is moving from the civil space to the defense space. So whether we speak about artificial intelligence, machine learning, virtual reality, augmented reality, all these things are moving to the defense, and companies are really investing in a big way. And you also know that the nature of threat is changing very, very fast. So we are having cyber warfare, bio warfare, and this technology is enabling us to do things faster. Indian government, what it wants, that if somewhere in the world we have done or produced something in, let's say, X unit of time, how could we do it in perhaps 0.6 or 0.7? That's the kind of message which comes from the highest office here. Coming back to L&T, we have been, of course, with Dassault for the last 25 years in the warship building. We have been using their PLM software. We have recently used the 3D Experience platform, and we could cut down the cycle time from start to end. I'm sorry, I can't talk about those platforms which we do, almost by 60%. And first time right, that was the best part of 3D Experience which we learned. So, we use this whole platform right from conceptualization to the after sales support. And whether it is our workmen, who are, some of them are just 10th pass. The system is so user friendly that no paper gets used in the complete scheme of things. And we see the same thing happening across the ecosystem. The other companies also, I'm sure they are doing the same. And that's why, the cycle time is coming down, the costs are coming down, and I think the user satisfaction, as far as our armed forces are concerned, it is going up. So that is how the technology has been enabling us, to do things much, much better as compared to earlier years.
Multiple aspects that you spoke of: collaboration, machine learning, AI, and even extending it to the shop floor where the workers are actually enabled with the digital technology to perform their activities. Mr. Dnyanesh, from the supplier point of view, it's always important to ensure that your vendor scores in the eyes of OEMs are very high. And you have to be very competitive with your bids and ensure the timely supplies and quality supplies. What is the role of technology that you envisage that it would play here?
Definitely. So I think my customer is sitting this next to me. So with his permission, I would like to share one example. I think Mahindra has a very nice process about supplier assistance. They call it SBCB, that is Supplier Business Partner Capability Building. And they have that 4 pillars in that process. So one of the pillar is technology pillar. Other is like leadership, and then 2 more like about supply chain. And this gives the direction and some guidance. What is the expectation of our OEMs or customers as a supplier, and that enable us to go to the management that what is our customer expecting and what kind of a technologies we need to adapt to support our customers, to enable our customers to be in a long-term sustainable way. It's not something we invest today and after 3 years we are not improving, we are just saying that, but that continuous improvement is also critical. Second, I think with this, the tools like 3D experience. So when we are working with our suppliers to score high, delivering the product, optimized product without compromising the quality, because nowadays customer choices are very evolving, not our customers but end users. Their choices are evolving and meeting the quality, no one is going to compromise. And for that, the technologies like we are using 3D experience, those are real enablers, because right from the product development till our all manufacturing plants can access the real-time data, what we release as a drawing. And that is helping us reducing our prototype development time and even the manufacturing. So this is how we are scoring high on the customer requirements.
Mr. Ritesh, with the complexity of the market dynamics, government regulations that are coming in, which are getting tough and tough every day, and also the foray of green mobility. So these are new dimensions that are adding to the world actually. And how do you see the supply chain space, sourcing and supply chain space is going to evolve in the coming year?
As the slide comes up, Mahindra has been a vanguard on the sustainable initiatives on the automotive industry. Like other companies like Reliance, where I've also seen the declaration on carbon neutrality, Mahindra has also declared that by 2040, Mahindra will be carbon neutral. And to be carbon neutral, we've taken a lot of initiatives in the sustainability space, starting from carbon pricing to usage of renewable energy. In the renewable energy space, in consuming the renewable energy, we are at 30%. 30% of our consumption is on the renewable space. We are working a lot towards greening our supply chain also in terms of using repackageable stuff. We are already water positive in all our manufacturing plants. We are greening our earth by planting trees. We're taking so many initiatives over there. Most of our plants are zero waste to landfill. That also initiative has been taken. So from that perspective, from a consumption angle, we are working very fast to green our plants in terms of reducing the pollutions and emissions. Now coming to the scope 2, scope 3 emissions, which is about greening the ecosystem both from the inbound side and the outbound side. On the outbound side, we've already declared our electric portfolio. So we'll have electric vehicles coming in from next year onwards, which are born electric. We already launched an electric vehicle this year. So we are very mindful of the initiatives which have to be taken towards reducing the carbon footprint, and that's how we are bringing in electric vehicles very fast to the market, and that's how we are looking at technology enablers to do it. The other one is on the supply chain front itself, where we are looking at working with the suppliers to reduce their emissions. There are now regulations which we have to work with for our suppliers in terms of assessing what the carbon footprint they have, and we are working with them also to use renewable energy and to reduce the emissions through the carbon footprint that they work. We are also working on alternative fuels in the form of CNG, because we know that electric fuel is not the end of the day, end of game. It is also about using biofuel and CNG, and also flex fuel. They are as green as electric. The amount of the money that is invested in is also lesser. So we are working on all these fronts also.
Mr. Pankaj, given the challenge on indigenization, where you're building your IP to make it within India, and also, especially the defense products are for long years, where you'll be also tasked with the maintenance ownership for long years as long as the products are in service. With all these things in place, how do you see the supply chain and sourcing space evolving in coming years?
Yeah, thanks. I would just narrate three stories from my experience and try to link with what Praveen asked. So one of the key things which I said that government is demanding, we crash down the cycle time, we crash down the cost, because like the moon landing which happened, and Florence spoke about the kind of cost which were involved. So we can't afford as a country to spend like some developed countries. And we have to be fast, as I mentioned, because of the threats which we have. So, and then there is a, all defense products have requirement for support for 20 to 40 years. So if you have a submarine, it is 40 years, maybe the ships will have support for 20 years. And these are like tailor-made solutions, you don't produce it in mass. One example, when we did India's first nuclear strategic submarine, and we did these hulls at Hajira, the documentation which came from Hajira, it was, if I remember, some 2 or 2.5 truck loads. That was 13 ton of documentation, 13 ton, right? And then we did the whole thing. It was almost close to 40 ton, 4G. Now you just imagine, over a period of 40 years, this 40 ton of paper documentation, how do you manage? And just imagine if there is a wartime scenario and something is required quickly. How do you get this in jiffy? Because there is a national security which is at stake, something is required, we have to track if something goes wrong, right? And that was the reason, when we shifted to this PLM platform. And today, the whole thing is completely paperless. So it is not only meets those kind of requirements when it comes to the support, it also takes care of the sustainability. Like, in one of the slides, L&T has said that by 2040, we want to become carbon neutral. The second story is about when we do the construction of warships. So there are several tanks, water tank, fuel tank, a lot of liquids gets taken. And the conventional practice was that we used to fill water to check what is the volume of those tanks. And sometimes to ensure that, the pressure tight integrity of those vessels, so we used to do hydraulic pressure tests with it. Now with the kind of platforms which we just discussed, everything could be done in computers, and we have stopped using water at all. So that is the second story which we have, been now using continuously, and there's no water wastage which gets done. And the third interesting part is, which we have just implemented, we spoke about virtual twin. So we are building a huge manufacturing workshop which is 250 meter long. We have some 34 meter width, 45 meter height, where we are going to do some future submarine platforms. Now the design of the submarine is still evolving, and equipments are evolving, right? The ecosystem in the country is evolving because we want a higher level of indigenization. So the whole thing has to mature. So the question is, today it's very difficult to predict when our drawings are going to come, in what sequence they are going to come, in what sequence equipment are going to come, and whether equipment are going to come in the shape in which they are expected to come. There are so many challenges. But we have at the same time that a particular time period in which this is to be done. We have a particular cost in which this platform is to be built. So how do we manage this? And in a conventional way, and we can see a lot of countries who have attempted such platform. They have taken, 15, 16 years to do the first one. So we are using this virtual twin to forecast if something changes, to work out those scenario analysis. If my drawing sequence changes or if my equipment changes, how do I manage or mitigate those risks? How do I reduce my waste? Now, when we cut crates, there is a wastage of almost 10 to 12%. But and we are using now this for the smart planning, by which we are trying to reduce that metal waste to almost 5 to 6%.